Hello everyone and welcome to Facebook Live. This week we're talking about DIY projects with Shirley and Moira.
Hello.
So we are keen to hear about your DIY projects. What have you been up to? Are you DIY minded? Are you not quite so much? I think we've got a spectrum here today. So let us know in the comments and we'll respond to you. So I guess we'll start with, have you got any DIY projects on at the go at the moment?
Well, I just finished one. It was my mother's beloved bureau from a year ago. I think it's older than I am. And she wanted it lovely restored, so I decided to upcycle it. So I did Google ways to do this on YouTube and all sorts, but I think it's one of those things that you just have to do yourself and find your own way sometimes, because sometimes other people's ways aren't always the best. So I could let you see pictures before and after, so you can see. So what I ended up doing was I bought furniture paint like I was advised, but I didn't really like the finish. I think it's okay if you want the shabby chic look, but I didn't really want that look, so I just ended up using emulsion and just good old plain emulsion. And the hardest part I find is the preparation.
Well, I was going to ask you that. Did you have to sand it all down?
Yes, I did, unfortunately. So I got my little sanding block and my coarse sandpaper and got to work with that. And then the fine sandpaper at the end. I was going to invest in one of the electric sanders, but I thought I'll wait and see if I'm going to take it up first before I invest any more money.
Is this the first thing you've done like this then?
It is. Project? It is. I'm hoping to do more. It was a bit of a challenge, and there was one point I thought, I don't think this is going to work. But I persevered. I was determined because it was mother's beloved bureau. So I persevered and I thought I will make this work. So I hopefully did in the end. She's pleased with it anyway, which is the main thing.
It's fab.
So,
it's fab. Did you have to dismantle it? Did you have to take the handles off or the lid off? Or
the
anything?
handles are built into this one, so it wasn't quite so bad. But yeah, sanding it down and washing it all down. I took the drawers outside to sand them outside. It does make such a mess. And then washing it all down and prep for the emulsion. I actually took more work because I used the wrong paint. It was furniture paint, but I didn't like the finish. So I ended up just putting emulsion over the top.
How many coats did that take? Were you using a brush?
Yeah, just a brush.
You get different things, don't you? You get rollers and you get pads.
Yeah.
You're using a brush.
I did try a roller, but it made it that sort of textured finish that I didn't like. So I just smoothed it all back down again with a brush.
So how long did it take you to get from kind of A to B?
Well, because it was sitting in mother's kitchen in our way, I was trying to do it as quickly as I could, so it was just a few hours here and there, but I think I did most of it in about a week, because it was just like a couple of hours each day, and obviously letting it dry in between coats. So the couple of coats was the furniture paint, which I didn't like, because the teak colour just kept shining through. So
yeah, I know what you mean, because when we moved into the house that we're in just now, the back wall of our kitchen had been panelled in wood strips, diagonal wood strips, the whole extent of the wall, and then painted in this kind of colour, a wood treatment, so that it was wood coloured, and it made the whole room really dark and gloomy. So I don't think I did sand it down, I took the shortcut, but it took about 4 coats of paint, of the furniture paint that you're supposed to use for wooden floors and things, and it did take about 4 coats before it stopped shining through so strongly that it didn't just look like a special effect, that you just hadn't put enough paint on. It took ages.
Well, I tried that, the furniture painting, and I wasn't liking the finish, so I just went good old emulsion.
Did you tell me, did you put a special facing on the fronts of the drawers or something?
It's just wallpaper.
Oh, it's wallpaper?
Yeah, it's just wallpaper with a varnish on top to protect it.
Oh, that's clever.
So there's about 7 layers of paint, including the furniture paint that I wasn't pleased with at the start. So there's about 2 coats of the furniture paint and about 4 coats of the emulsion and 2 coats of satin lacquer.
Yeah.
So
it'll be considerably heavier than it was when you started.
Yeah.
And more flammable.
Oops. But there's all sorts of tricky parts about that, because you'd have to make sure the hinges still worked. You'd have to make sure that the lock's still lined up.
Yeah, and especially
Did you
if
have
you're
to take
using
the lock
glues.
off or anything?
No, I just polished up with Brasso because it was looking pretty sorry. So I've just polished it with Brasso, and then no, I didn't have to do anything like that.
Now, have you painted it inside the drawers?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
You
'cause
would
that
do.
will- no, I'm not.
You can get away with putting paper in there or something
Yes.
if you really want.
Well, it's
We've been
quite-
joined by Kimberly from Hull.
Hi,
Hello,
Kimberly.
Um,
Yeah.
Have you ever tried anything like that? Would you?
No, because I don't think I'd be any good at it.
Do you think that's a good reason not to try?
Possibly not. I think that's maybe a bit defeatist, to
That's
be
a bit of a
honest.
cop-out.
But I don't know. I would look at kind of stage one here with the kind of old look, and I'd think I'll need to do something about that. And then 6 months down the line, I'd think I'll really need to throw that in the skip.
Yeah.
That would.
That's what was going to happen to
'Cause
that if
I
it didn't
just-
work.
Yeah.
So I thought you were going to say 3 months down the line you think, oh, I must phone Moira.
I must get someone in that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I would. My better half is a fan of the DIY projects. She has an idea currently to take off our front door because it's quite kind of weather beaten and it's full of holes where people have been screwing the numbers in and things. She wants to take the thing off and sand it all down and repaint it and then put up a big kind of antique door knocker and new numbers and all that sort of stuff. In amongst other crazy things, she wants to do like knock down the garden shed and turn it into like a summer house. So relay all the slabs and then get the thing. I'm confounded frequently by flatpack furniture, so it's not the best idea for me to try.
Now, I can say that I am a bit of a queen of the flat pack. I don't know if that qualifies as DIY, but I do enjoy a nice flat pack.
Yeah.
You enjoy it?
I actually enjoy it because it's all. But I enjoy puzzles. I enjoy jigsaws and things like that. And a flat pack is just another kind of jigsaw. So you set it all out. You've got your instructions that tell you all the bits to look for, all the different kinds of screws. I like to set it all out in a very orderly fashion, and then just work my way through step by step, assembling it. And we have a lot of flat pack furniture around the house now. The most challenging one being a computer desk that came with drawers and one of these slidey little bits just underneath your work surface. So you had to get all your hinges on, your screws in, your slidey bits. Yeah, I enjoy a flat pack.
Yeah.
Some are more challenging than others. We were talking about this yesterday,
Yeah.
that sometimes you get a flat pack and 3 out of 4 screws and bolts will all line up with the holes that have been pre-drilled, and that number 4 it never quite squares. It's never quite in alignment, or there's always one screw that just won't quite go into one of these metal socket things. But yeah, I enjoy a flat pack. Does that qualify?
I think that qualifies.
You're doing it
yeah,
yourself. You
absolutely.
wouldn't have the furniture if you didn't do it yourself.
And frequently the instructions are more abstract than they need to
Yeah,
be, so
the
there is quite a lot of
instructions are
work that you need
hilarious.
to do.
Yeah. I don't mind handing the tools to my husband to do it.
Yeah, well, Mr. Fiction Ed does that with me.
Yeah.
He's the one who hands me the tools, and they always take more than one person because you always end up with 2 surfaces like that or 2 uprights like that
having
that
a
need to be
hold
bridged.
them
You need 2 hands.
Extra hands,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
But I think
But-
you've also got to be in the mood
that's
for
true.
these things,
That's
these
exactly
projects. You really have to be in the mood to do them.
Mm-hmm.
But every holiday I've ever taken sometimes been decorating. Or my husband, he was a sales rep at the time, and he'd be away from Monday to Friday. He'd go home, and I'd get started in one of the rooms, and he'd come home and fix in a different house. But no, I just loved painting and decorating. Not so much now. But
Do you watch all these like homeless programs
yeah.
and get a lot of ideas from there?
yeah, I love changing rooms, and I like 60-minute makeover. But I mean, they have squads of people going in, so it's not.
Yeah,
it's-
20 people
it's-
descend on the house,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
probably what we do.
Yeah.
So what do you think is this project finished now?
Yeah, that's what finished now.
So what's
yeah.
going to be your next one?
I'm hoping to tackle my bedroom furniture because that's all pine. So I'm hoping to do like the New England colours
Oh,
that
yeah.
seem to be in just now.
Yeah.
So so that was the starter. To see
So is that going to be like a similar process? Are you going to have to sand all that back and
Yeah.
then...
Yeah, so I might invest in the sander then.
Now that you've tried it out.
Yes, now
yeah.
that I've tried it out, yeah. Yeah, I think that would be good. And it's fun choosing the colours as well, that's the exciting bit, I think, choosing other colours and other colour palettes out and deciding which ones to go for.
Don't know if we mentioned it, but Moira's on our design team, so she's got a natural sort of creative flair and eye for colour and what goes with what, which I think is a huge advantage. I think that's a real struggle when it comes to just decorating, is knowing colours, knowing what will go with what and how to lighten the room and make the best of it.
But I think it's what my friend says, that she always consults me, so I wouldn't buy anything without seeing Moira first, because she knows what colours go. I says, but I know what I like, but it's maybe not necessarily what you like, you know. And I says, but I don't know what goes. I says, but if you like it, it goes.
Then it goes.
You know.
Yeah, that's true. That's right.
Know, things don't always have to match. They could be the same tonally, the same tone. They don't have to be the same colour. And sometimes it's better if they are opposite. You know, some people would think it would clash, but Gemma, my daughter Gemma, would be saying, "Will that go?" I said, "Just make it go. If you like it, you know.
Yes.
If you like it, it goes."
Yes.
I think. But
I don't know. I'm a bit of a one for a worry that I've actually got really bad taste, and that when somebody came to the house, they would go, "What was she thinking?"
Do you want to have a cup of tea? No, I'm fine.
So everything's kind of a bland, probably magnolia or white. It's just bland, and I do inject colour with what they always say in the programme, a pop of colour with the cushions and the curtains and things, and you can change them around.
yeah.
I remember for a while there was quite a fad for feature walls.
Yes.
Where there would be 3 walls that were one colour and then another wall would be a completely different, usually like a dark colour or something like that.
Yes.
And that did the rounds on all the kind of changing rooms and the like. And I remember having a discussion with my wife, and she was talking about how she wanted to do this, and it was in a rented flat we were in Edinburgh, and they all had sort of pastel blue walls, and she was looking at the biggest wall and going, "I think I'm going to paint that bright red." And I was just looking at it like, please don't do that.
See, I'm such a practical mind that I always think beyond that. How do you cover it up?
How do you how do you get rid of it again?
If it doesn't work, you want to cover it up, or a year down the line you get fed up with it, or fashions change and you want to cover it up. And I always think to that next step, it will be a nightmare to cover it up. So it's a bit like you, what if it doesn't work? I just think, well, we'll not bother doing it.
Yeah.
It's not even just colours now anymore for feature walls, it's effects and textures as well now. You have like leather look paints and suede look paints as well, and different brushes that you use for different effects, and we had a rag rolling at one point as well,
that's
sponging, and
That's right.
I remember painting my kitchen green and it was just too green, so I ended up stippling it with a sponge with white over it, and it was a really nice effect in the end. So.
I think you're a DIY queen, Moira.
I think next time we're planning to do anything, I think you might be consulting with you as
Yes,
well.
remember. But talking of DIY, do you DIY because you enjoy it, or because it's so hard to get tradesmen to do it for you now? That's what I find.
Yeah, a bit of both. Plus, I think you get a huge feeling of satisfaction too. You know, you could sit back and say, "I did that," and people come in and say, "Oh, that's really nice." I go, "I did that. I said, do that," you know. And people have been admiring the bureau as well, thinking mother's had a new unit, you know. And I says, "Well, it was Moira that did that." You know,
What
so
we might do, if you don't mind, is put the photos up on the Facebook so that folk can see your progress, and then you might get some work out of it.
Well,
People might be getting in touch. For some advice.
Number.
I remember when I was a kid, my parents did a lot of all the decorating they tended to do themselves, and I remember it being a full kind of like a 4-day affair. You would kind of start on the Friday night, and then kind of by about Monday morning when you were getting ready to go to school, it might have been all done. And it would be, you know, everything comes out of the room and all the dust sheets go down, and then it's the paint and the wallpaper, and then everything has to go back. And, it became kind of a family tradition every little while.
Yeah, my parents were like that as well, and actually it's amazing what you learn just from having watched that through your childhood, because you learn just by watching. I have wallpapered purely from seeing them do it. I have painted, gloss doors and gloss skirting and all the rest of it from watching them. But a thing that they used to do, we had what was called a cottage suite. It was a particular kind of suite that was, the 2 armchairs and a little 2-seater sofa with wooden arms. And every so often, they would actually reupholster it themselves. It would be a process. They would buy the furnishing fabrics. They'd get all these just a hammer and tat. They'd take off the old covering, and recover it, and they made a fabulous job of it. I remember it happening several times, with really neat corners at the back and where the arms met the wooden armrests and things. Really, I don't know that anybody could do that now. It was just so clever. I did it once with an old ottoman that had been theirs, and when I set up my first flat they gave me the ottoman just for storage. So I thought I'll have a go, and I painted it. It had been gold wicker work with one of these traditional sort of red shiny satin kind of tops on it. So I painted the wicker work all a nice cream magnolia probably, and bought just an offcut of fabric from somewhere, green corduroy, to cover the top, and then put a band round it and proper upholstery tacks, and you got that sense of achievement, thinking, gosh, look what I've done.
That doesn't sound like a casual job. That was a
that
lot
was
of work
just learning from watching. It's huge, and it's like YouTube does for us now. You can go on YouTube and find a video on anything. Anything that can give you confidence and talk you through any kind of project.
Well, that's what I did as well. I recovered my dining room chairs, which is the first time I'd ever done that too. I saw this lovely material in the shop, and I thought, well, I really like that. And I had it in 3 different colours. So instead of just a normal person would just get all the same, but I said, no, I'll get 2 of that colour, 2 of that colour, 2 of that colour. So it's the same pattern, but it's all different colours. So it's just the same but different, if you like.
Yeah, nice.
So,
a house up the road from me, they have that in their garden furniture outside. They're all the same style of chair, but different fabrics or backings or whatever the seat part's called. They're all different colours, but they look like they're all meant to be together. You know, it works. It works. Lots of comments.
Yeah, we've been joined by Sandra. Hello, Sandra. And Kimberly says that she'd love to upcycle furniture, but she lives in quite a small flat. She does, however, make homemade lamps from bottles, and I think she sent us a link here, but we can't look at it at the moment. But we'll look at that a little bit later on, and come back to you. I suppose that's a point. If you're in a fairly small flat, the opportunities for doing that sort of stuff might not be a lot of them. Or if you're renting, which is what kind of happened to us a while back, you can't really make massive changes to things.
No.
So that might be where you turn to kind of small bits of furniture that you can customise yourself.
Yeah, but just thinking about that, making lamps from bottles, I mean, that involves wiring. You must have to bore a hole through the bottom of the bottle to get your wire through, do you?
Yeah.
But you've got to know what you're doing because you're dealing with electricity, so well done.
Yeah, that's quite a project, I would say.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried that?
No.
Is that on your to-do list now?
I wouldn't dabble with electrics or water.
No.
Plumbing or electrics, no.
Can you change a washer in a tap?
No, I've watched someone do it and thought I'd probably do that, but I haven't actually tried. No.
I was thinking about that this morning. Just not that we have any tap trouble, but learning to do basics like that. And you watch somebody on YouTube and they do it, and it's so straightforward. But I think it's as you say, if you're dealing with water or electrics, which can go horribly wrong.
It can go wrong.
Horribly wrrong.
Yeah.
It's just a wee bit scary.
That's not just
it comes down to
a
confidence, though, doesn't it? It's confidence and just knowing what you're doing.
It's like wiring a plug nowadays. You don't really have to know how to do that now because everything comes already with a plug on it. So you don't have to do that anymore.
I find that with a lot of our digital systems. It's that kind of surface level of knowledge that everybody has, and then as soon as something goes slightly beyond that, you're kind of in trouble. And I think that's the same with the DIY stuff. Kind of, okay, if this happens, I know that I can do this, and then as soon as there's another problem, it's beyond my level of expertise.
I'm sure I read a feature in the newspaper not that long ago about the curse of the DIY. You know, people who have knocked holes in walls or taken walls down, and they just haven't quite known what they're doing, not to do it safely and securely, and ensuring the continuing structure of the house. You know, they've taken bits down that really load-bearing walls and all that kind of thing. They just haven't quite known what they're doing, or wire things oddly and not entirely safely. So there is that balancing act of, I think a project like this is great where it's not affecting anything more major, but once it starts on the structure of your house, I think you really need to know what you're doing.
Yeah, We would quite. We've got a loft in our flat, and we've had pie in the sky conversations about kind of turning it into a room. It's got a skylight and it's got a really good view over the river and stuff, but it's just a loft. It's full of rubbish and it's not got a floor and all of that sort of stuff. And when you're talking about it, it seems like a really easy thing to do. Oh, of course, you'll stick a floor in and some plasterboard, and it'll all be fine. And then obviously the reality is frequently not the case.
Well, no, because you have to think about all the extra weight.
Yeah, on all the ceilings.
Yes.
And there's the only access into it just now is a ladder through kind of like a door in the ceiling, so a trap door. So you would need to put something else in. There would need to be some kind of staircase, and I think it's a bigger project than we might want it to be. But it's the dream. The DIY dream currently. Kimberly's come back to us to say that you get LED corks that you can put in the bottles that kind of provide the light to save you having to drill holes in the bottles.
Oh well, if that's all you were doing. But even knowing that kind of thing, I think that's great. Yeah, just
sort of wee quirky touches that you can have to make your place your own.
I just think though, especially with the furniture, it was so well made back in the day. You know, all the dovetail joints and things. I mean, the modern flatpack furniture now, it's all this MDF and things. I don't think it's as robust. So I think it's nice to bring old things back to life again. You know,
well, you wouldn't buy something of that quality now, probably. So yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
And now we've upscaled it now. This is the fashion just now to upscale furniture. So upcycle, I should say. Probably in 30 years' time we'll be stripping it down back to the natural wood again.
Well, that's exactly right, because it used to be that everybody wanted their doors that had natural mould, not natural, doors that had all that moulding on them. They wanted flat doors, so they covered all that up with plywood, and they covered up fireplaces and everything, and they covered up dado rails and all the rest of it. And then fashion came round again, and all the plywood's coming off the doors, all the mouldings back in. We're probably about to turn around again because houses got quite busy for a while, and now it's all going plainer and more minimalist. So I think we'll see plywood sales
coming back again. Weren't you saying, Moira, that you had the bed that was sort of specially made, the sleigh bed, which you can now obviously buy and probably made of sort of slightly lighter materials, but you were saying that yours is of a different vintage.
Oh, definitely. As a small child, I always wanted a sleigh bed, and I says when I get a house of my own, I'm going to have a sleigh bed. So we went to Dovetail Enterprises, and they made a bespoke sleigh bed for us out of pine, but it weighs an absolute ton. And just recently, our bedroom was quite small, and it was just really room for the bed and 2 bedside cabinets. So we decided to put it in the spare room. So my husband had to dismantle it and reassemble it in this other room, and he says, right, that's it now. This bed will have to be sold with the house. It's not moving again, because it was just so heavy and clunky, you know, but I mean, really well made. But it was a huge effort to dismantle it. And
I know what you mean. We've got a bedroom unit set of drawers, and the delivery men delivered it and put it in place, and we cannot shift it. No. We can't lift it. Even with the drawers empty, it is a dead weight.
It just lives there now.
Yeah, we can't paint behind it. If we paint, we're going to have to paint round it because it's just immovable. Bit of a problem actually. We'll need to figure out something because we can't just leave it there forever. We have to get those sliders under each leg or something.
My parents did that. They had a big wall unit, with little ornaments and things in it, and it was huge, and that weighed a ton as well. And we just painted around it for years.
But that makes me think of furniture in houses that, if you've had a sofa put in a room and then, I don't know, altered the doorway or something, and it's stuck there and you can't come out, or you've been and bought a sofa and it's too big to go in the door.
It has to come out the window.
That happened to us. We ordered a sofa and it looked a normal kind of size in the shop, but when the delivery men brought it, it would not. We've got doors and odd angles because it's an old cottage, and it wouldn't come into the house. No which way would it come into the house. So they said, we know a glazier, so we had to phone this glazier who came and took out. Fortunately, we had a very big double glazed front window, so he came in and took out the whole window unit, swung the sofa in, put the window back in.
I think these are the kind of pieces of furniture that are primed for upcycling. Because you're like, it's not going to move. So if we're changing the room around it, we're going to have to change that as well.
So,
well, I guess you've talked about some projects that you're thinking about taking on next.
Yes.
Beyond flat pack furniture, do you have anything in mind that's coming up?
No, although I have noticed a little stack of wood in the back garden that I believe is going to be turned into a raised bed, which will be Mr. Frictionet's department. He does the garden stuff, but I think I might be employed as apprentice and general. Hold that
buddy.
there, will you? Yeah. So I think that will be our next project. Yourself?
I think it's going to be this door. This door has been spoken about an awful lot.
You didn't seem to be taking any part in that door project, though. Are you just on the kettle?
That someone has to supervise, and I think that is my role. I think I will stand and watch as it's done. And
that's really irritating, just by the way.
I imagine so. I will be told as much as well. We're going to be taking down the shed. That's because it's basically a strong breath of wind and it's going to fall down anyway, and it comes with a fence that we're also going to take down. So that the more destructive side of DIY I'm happy with, because I can just bash that with a hammer and then that'll be fine. The more creative bits I'm going to have to leave to the person who is qualified to do so, possibly with Moira's advice.
Well, the shed could become a workshop.
It would be for all the projects that I don't do.
Yeah, a no workshop.
That's just every place. Okay, so I think that'll probably do us for today on the subject of DIY. If you've got any DIY projects that you want to show us, just put them below in the comments and we'll come back to you. And like I said a little bit earlier, I'm going to put the pictures of the bureau that Moira's been working on. We'll put them up as well and you can see her progress. She may or may not start a business, we're not sure. So thank you for joining us and we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.